Welcome to the Powercast with Charlie Johnson. I'm one of the world's leading fitness and transformation coaches. I'm going to be providing you with the tools to build your ultimate body and mind.
Smashed. Done. Tired?
Not yet. They'll kick in a bit.
So, we have a very different podcast for you guys today. We're going to do a Q&A, and you guys will recognize Charlie, of course, from my Instagram, but also Charlie is the first person to appear on my podcast twice. How do you feel about that?
Repeat appearance. Very honoured.
Repeat appearance. So today's going to be a little bit of a different one. Of course, it is Monday morning, and we're going to talk to you guys. Today we're doing a Q&A, and it's going to be a Q&A specifically for females. The reason we want to do that is because myself and Charlie talk about this a lot, that the misconception is the majority of our clients are male, and that is false. That is not true. The majority of our clients are also not athletes, which is a misconception. We get quite a lot of both male and female clients, of course, and generally probably the 30-40 kind of age bracket almost. Yeah. And we wanted to address some questions in particular towards maybe the female clients that we have, or potential female clients out there that are listening
the common questions we get.
Yeah, so we're going to go through a Q&A. So myself and Charlie have asked our Instagram followers for some specific questions. Not all of them are 100% for females, but the majority of them will be. A lot of them will be applicable to men as well. I'm going to throw these. Some of these are out there, mate. I'm going to throw these at you.
Don't ask my favourite G-string. That's a bad start.
I've actually seen you wear one, to be fair.
Oh, yeah, move on.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, it's not a lie.
I'm not even kidding. So
swiftly moving on.
At Charlie's stag, but that's in Vegas. That's for
that stays there. Yeah.
You walked right into that one, my friend.
Yeah, I opened myself up for that.
So I'm just going to throw them at you, dude. Let's go. So some of these, like I said, will be specific to females, and some of them will actually be, applicable for both male and female clients as well. So here's one. I'm not a morning person, but if I put off working out until the end of the day, I won't do it. How can I get my workout in?
Structure your day better.
Absolutely. That's actually such a good point, because we were speaking about the book that we've both just read recently.
Perfect Day Formula.
Perfect Day Formula by Craig Ballantyne. Yes. Absolutely. So, yeah. I mean, I don't train first thing in the morning anymore.
I don't either, because I can understand why people like to do it, because then I can definitely see the benefit. If you train first thing in the morning, that task and that part of your day is done. There's no other excuses or roadblocks that can come up and screw up your day and make you late or not have time to do it. But ultimately you need to run your day, not let your day run you. So you need to have structure and being, I'm going to gym at X time, Y time, this is what time I need to get back.
Yep.
Just forward planning is the key to success with your fitness journey and general life.
Yeah. So anyone who listened to my last podcast with Sonia, my Skype client that I was in Australia with, by the way, obviously today is Monday, so last Thursday's podcast I was still in Sydney, and we spoke about how Sonia gets up really, really early. Obviously she's a single mom, gets it out of the way, and a lot of female clients out there will be in a similar situation. They're cooking, they're cleaning, they're doing a lot of other things as well as whatever their full-time job may be. So sometimes it's probably easier for you guys to do it first thing in the morning. I find, whether it's a gender thing, I actually find a lot of my male clients seem to train after work. But for me, at least, exactly like Charlie said, structuring your day better. You don't have to train first thing in the morning, you don't have to train fasted, you don't have to do cardio fasted, but if it suits your lifestyle to do so, then obviously you're right.
It's all about being organised. Whatever fits you and whatever you can adhere to is the best.
Absolutely.
Diet, training plan, anything. If you can't stick to it, it's not sustainable, then there's no point starting it, to be fair.
Yeah. So here's another one. Which is better for your body and why? Yoga or Pilates?
To be fair, actually...
Do you know the difference?
To be fair, in my opinion, I think yoga has a lot of elements of Pilates in it, and I think yoga has...
They're so good. Have you
done
it?
I've done a lot of yoga. I think I've done Pilates specifically once, which was actually in Thailand. That was pretty epic. But yoga, I find one of the big benefits personally, that I don't actually do it enough. I was doing quite a bit in the summer, is from the breathing aspect.
Yeah.
Controlling your breathing is very, very important, that a lot of people, myself included, really struggle with. So that's something I bear in mind.
For me, I think probably one of the biggest issues or the differences is yoga will probably put a slightly more of a stress on your lower body than Pilates would. Pilates is predominantly for strengthening your entire body. Of course, there's a massive overlap as well. The truth be told is, if it depends on what your goals are, but for the vast majority, it's losing body fat. Yeah, so as long as you're in a calorie deficit, if it means that it's the one thing a lot of my female clients ask me about is, can they do these classes as well as their training regime that I give them? And my answer is, as long as you're burning calories and you're enjoying it, and someone's pushing you, absolutely,
and you're not going to hurt
do
yourself.
This is it.
You've got a decent instructor showing you how to do it properly.
Absolutely. Next question. What are the biggest mistakes people make at the gym? So let's just say female specific.
See, this is a very interesting subject, because I think it's almost an interesting tangent between males and females, because I think women need to train like men and men need to train like women.
Absolutely,
so I knew you were probably thinking the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Women typically are very afraid of training with weights or training heavy, thinking they're going to become a muscle-bound monster. It's not that easy, trust me, I'm trying. I'm really trying. And men tend to train too heavy with terrible form and don't do enough reps. So they almost need to take a leaf out of each other's book. Men need to focus more on control and technique, slightly less weight, but engaging the muscle more. Yep. And women need to probably push themselves a little bit more strength-wise, and they'll get better results.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake female clients of mine make at the gym is not kind of integrating. So a lot of my female clients they'll hop on, either they won't go to the gym straight away because they feel like they're not supposed to be there, or they feel a little bit out of place, or they will stick to cardio equipment. And just like you said, I think if anything, women should be doing more resistance training.
They benefit more than men.
Absolutely. So next question, what are the best foods to eat before working out? And obviously this is applicable to both.
In my opinion, for both of them, I would favour a high protein, a reasonable amount of carbohydrates. I'd always push a nutrient timing approach of having carbohydrates around a workout. So if you have the calorie allowance in terms of you can take in enough calories to have carbohydrates before training, I would ideally suggest that would be optimal. If, as in some people,
cream of rice.
Yeah, I like that. Oats is too heavy for the stomach, in my opinion, for before training. If you train very early in the morning, you want to train fasted, I would suggest going straight into a workout drink with carbohydrates. So as soon as you start training, you've got carbs hitting your system straight away, so you're energized and your workouts will improve.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I would say the same thing. It would depend for me on my clients. I do have some clients who will have carbohydrates pre. It will depend, obviously, like you said, on the macronutrient goals and or the macronutrient requirements. If not, it will be a protein fat. Generally, the one thing that we will agree on at least is that probably a meal that's quite light and is not just going to
sit heavy in your stomach. Yeah. So I'd always suggest to try and eat at least an hour and a half to 2 hours before training. Yeah. Some people I know can push it to closer to that, but me personally, I find it then sits on my stomach and it just makes you feel a bit sluggish during your session.
The one thing that I will, really delve into with my clients is how insulin sensitive they are. So if one of my clients in particular is really insulin sensitive, we will probably delay their carbohydrates till post-workout. But for the most part, I think some clients will benefit from carbs pre. Obviously, it will depend on their total carbohydrate intake. Some will prefer pre, some will prefer post, or intra, depending. Just on that, what are your thoughts on females having an intra-workout carbohydrate drink?
It depends.
This is my question, by the way.
It depends on body composition. I would say it would be worth including, but you're not going to obviously need as much as a male. It depends on your macronutrient levels. I think women are more likely to be able to get away without one. I would suggest an EEA, an essential amino acid product, whilst training. Yeah. For the reason, obviously, to prevent muscle breakdown while you're training, and should improve your performance and recovery, and also reduce muscle soreness after training. Women traditionally tend to be able to benefit more from a higher protein, higher fat diet, more so than needing a lot of carbohydrates. From a hormonal point of view, from my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. That being said, I will integrate, probably more recently over the last year as a coach, have I integrated more carbohydrates intra-workout for my female clients. Mainly, not because of their body composition, but just because I've noticed at least that some of my female clients start flagging towards the end of their workout, and I feel that it really picks it up.
And that's why I think, again, it's so important in terms of the feedback loop from clients to coaches to say, look, you need to be aware of how you feel and how your body is responding. And if you're starting to feel that you're flagging for the last half an hour of a session, that's a signal from your body. Either the session's going on too long or that you're underfed, as it were, in terms of a nutrient base.
Absolutely. On that note, while we're talking about supplementation, because I know 100% the majority of the emails or the questions or the queries that I get about supplementation from females is a hesitation point of view, and they're like, oh, I don't want to be massive, so I don't want to take a protein shake.
But then it comes down to the thing of like your whey protein is just a supplement for food. It's no different. It's nothing. You're
not going to get massive, I promise you.
We're both trying. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
It comes down to the same training heavy point of view. Your body's limited genetically as a female in terms of what it wants to do in terms of a hormonal point of view. It's not going to grow 15 kilos of muscle mass overnight, so you're not going to suddenly
with a protein shake.
Yeah, with a protein shake, which is like the equivalent of the chicken breast. So it's not going to do anything to you that normal food wouldn't do.
Absolutely. And for example, creatine is something that I will integrate into a lot of females' nutritional program for the exact same reason that I would with a male client, other than the fact that maybe the dose may be slightly smaller. Right?
Here's a question for you: do you get a lot of people being very skeptical about using creatine, so they've heard bad things, all these sort of things?
To be honest, I used to. I think people are a lot more educated now. I think a lot of the people who follow me or kind of buy into a lot of, first of all, that they've listened to the podcast already and they've heard my creatine review. But I think not so much anymore. I think people are becoming more educated. But I do definitely feel like women are more hesitant to take supplements than guys. I think, and hopefully that will change. That being said, what I will definitely, the two biggest supplements that I try and advise are actually a greens and either the PM burner for sleep, or something like an intra-workout carbohydrate, and those are widely kind of accepted by my clients, of course. But I think when it comes to maybe people who are just asking questions or they're querying about it, the supplementation thing definitely needs to be ironed out a little bit more. I think guys are a lot more likely to take a supplement or want to take a supplement, which hopefully will change, because physiologically there's not a huge amount of difference. Obviously hormonally there will be changes, but not a lot of that is affected by supplementation.
Protein shake.
Yeah, exactly.
The interesting thing I brought out, actually, something that stuck pointedly in my mind, was that I had a client who signed up who was very concerned about using creatine. However, on the initial sign up document, the guy was quite overweight, unfortunately, and he'd mentioned that he was having like 2 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's every day. And I tried to explain to him, if you're worried about taking creatine, yet this is the lifestyle you've been leading for like the last 15 years, you just need to rethink your mindset of how...
Yeah, put into perspective.
Yeah, the creatine or the 2 McDonald's a night, it's not really going to be doing any damage to you.
Next question: Can I use the treadmill if I have pain in my injured knee?
The treadmill was lighter to run on in terms of impact on your joints. I foolishly tried to do the marathon like 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you?
Which I didn't.
The London Marathon?
No, I didn't do it. I've got really bad flat feet and terrible papaya mechanics and quite heavy, so which is a very bad combination to run on the road. And I've got a partial tear in my Achilles from it. So ideally running on the road is not good for your joints in terms of pressure. From a cardio point of view, if you're getting any knee pain, I would stop and seek treatment. Mm-hmm. I would personally favour the cross trainer over a treadmill because there's no impact, or a stepper. Yeah,
or a bike. The one thing, my clients will know this anyway, I would rarely advise or suggest running full stop great. Anyway. I'm not saying don't run.
If you enjoy it, do it.
I'm just saying I wouldn't. It's not something that I would put on a program. The only time I will kind of have that conversation is if a client loves running or if a client loves the buzz that they get from running. And then I say, listen, okay.
And then you do it for enjoyment.
Absolutely.
Different
absolutely. But it wouldn't be my primary form of cardio for weight loss at all.
It's not optimal.
Generally speaking as well, if you want to lose weight, you're probably carrying a little bit too much weight, which is exactly the reason why you probably shouldn't be putting a huge amount of impact on your joints or your ligaments as well. But what I would do, for example, if I have clients that have injuries or they have joint pain or knee pain, I will just try and, like you said, an elliptical or what was the word you used?
Cross trainer.
Yes, cross trainer. Sorry, I'm so used to North American clients that call it the elliptical. So, yes. So that's normally what I would advise. And to be honest, like at the end of the day, it comes. I know you're probably sick to death, but it's calories in versus calories out. You don't have to run, you don't have to swim, you don't have to do backflips.
You can walk up and down the stairs for an hour if you want.
This is it.
The same effect. Don't have to leave the house.
This is it. Next question: how can you reduce belly fat and flatten your stomach?
Site-specific body fat is impossible to
sir.
achieve. That's probably the most common question that myself and Chris will get asked. You just need to, again, come back to the calorie deficit thing, put yourself in a calorie deficit, get your body fat down, and that will go. Unfortunately, the body fat around the stomach tends to be the last place to go. I would find generally. Yeah, and it will obviously depend male to female, and a lot of that comes down to... It comes down to genetics. It comes down to your mine's gone blank. It comes down to your hormonal profile, and where generally you hold body fat is a lot to do with your genetic makeup, but also your hormonal profile as well. So you're not going to be able to site specifically lose body fat from wherever. You just need to get lean. You just need to get lean everywhere. Like I have specific areas that I struggle with. Charlie will have his. Where would you say on your body you hold body fat more?
Me, love handles. Well, what I would say love handles. But the thing is, like, I've said this to you loads of times. Like, I can be fluffy, and I'll have veins in my legs and my arms.
I'm exactly the same.
Which is amazing if I'm walking around with a vest on because I look shredded. But
in the gym you look jacked.
But then I might not necessarily like for me to
a good expo bodybuilder.
This is it for me to get a full set of abs. Like I have like dick skin arm and legs. Like.
You can see your pulse through your quad.
Basically. On that note, actually, what would you say? Because I get this a lot, and I have done wonders with a lot of my clients on this, and I just want to know what you would do for your female clients who want to get rid of cellulite. Because there are things you can do, but it obviously depends on the client. So, for me at least, there's obviously a few things you can do outside of the norm. So what I would do is obviously you want to drop body fat, but the one thing that a lot of clients don't seem to think about is if you can grow the muscle in that area.
That was going to be my point.
You're stretching the skin,
and
so
one of the main areas that seem to get us around obviously the glutes, the arse,
exactly the glute and hamstring area,
that sag area there. So if you can build up your posterior chain through weight training, and then as we've already said, training heavier for women, that will naturally tighten the area and also improve the shape.
Absolutely.
Which then should solve a lot of the issues.
Yeah, because you're doing two things. You're not just decreasing your body fat in that area, but you're also increasing the actual the size of the muscle, which will put that little bit of stress on the skin, which is exactly what you want to kind of straighten out those areas.
One thing I also find interesting with women is they can get very hung up in terms of, for a lot of women when they first start, they need to increase their muscle mass and they don't need to drop that much fat for a lot of them. I don't know if you would hear your clients, and they get frustrated
that the weight's not dropping.
The scales don't move, but you've got to reassure them that it's not absolutely. The scales is a variable you assess, but it's not the whole. It's not an anorexia competition to see how much weight you can lose.
Especially, let's call a spade a spade. The majority of female clients who come to us are probably not doing a huge amount of resistance training before they train with us. They're probably not structuring their carbohydrates in and around their training. They're probably not getting enough water in intramuscularly. So all of a sudden you put them on a resistance training program, you structure their food correctly, they're going to be putting on weight, if anything, good weight, which is what you want, increasing lean muscle mass. That being said, so they weigh in and weight's not changing, but they're like, oh yeah, but they almost feel like they have to justify that
why it's not doing.
And they're like, oh yeah, but just in case you think I'm cheating on my diet, like my body shape is changing, and I'm like, absolutely, of course it is.
And that's why I always find, from a feedback point of view, I always ask how people are doing strength wise, because if your strength is increasing, particularly for a woman, quite a lot, and your body weight is staying the same, no doubt you're adding lean muscle tissue, and you'll also be dropping body fat at the same time. So it's a very good indicator in terms of what's going on. One of my clients, Mona, for example, in her last 12-week plan, her body weight was exactly the same, didn't change from start to finish, but she looks like a different person.
Completely different,
and about 10 years younger.
Oh, here's one for you, mate. This is a curveball. What kind of beauty products should be in every woman's gym bag?
This is...
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not a Scooby, but let's just think logically right now.
What about hairband or hair scrunchie? Is that one?
Potentially deodorant, moisturizer, shampoo, body wash. Basically everything that would be in ours. To be fair,
I haven't got hair. I tried to grow my hair long enough for a scrunchie last year and gave up. So
next question. What would you recommend for a quick 20 to 30 minute workout?
Some sort of full body circuit, to be honest with you, focusing on big compound exercises. So if you're in a gym, I would do some sort of combination of the lower body, upper body exercise, and just circuit between those. Keeping your heart rate high. Minimal rest period, like 30 seconds a minute. The
other question I get is with both female and male clients is, if I have 45 minutes to hit the gym, would you prefer me do cardio,
always
hit or list, or resistance training?
Okay, what would you answer?
So normally, this is what I say. If in 45 minutes, I would suggest that they do 15 minutes of hit and 30 minutes of resistance training.
In what order?
So I'm split on this, and I'll give you my reasons for. I'll give you my main answer. So my main answer is I would get them to do hit first, which is normally not what I would get them to do if they had a longer period of time. The reason I get them to do hit first is because immediately once that hit finishes, they've got a really high heart rate and they're not easing into the resistance training. They're literally hitting the ground running. Normally, personally, if I was doing both and I had time, I would do my resistance training first. I would smash it. I would get it done, ensure that my lifts are adequate and I'm getting the best out of my session, and then I would finish on hit cardio. The reason I switch it around in that shape, in that situation, is because you have to go balls deep in at your hit session, and then you're immediately warm, you're immediately ready to go, and you've eased in. I find if people are kind of pushed for time and they go in, same with us, it could take us 10-15 minutes to warm up into a resistance training session, by which time they've only got 15 minutes left, and then they have to do their hit. So that's the reason why I would put it that way. What do you think?
No, I would agree with that. I wouldn't, if you had longer time, I would never do...
Exactly, yeah. Same.
I would never do it from an optimal point of view, but from a practicality point of view. And again, in my opinion, I'm not a huge advocate of hit. Again, it comes down to people's lifestyles and what they can adhere to, and if hit is all you can fit into your day, then by all means, then do it. That's the best thing to do. But the issue I have is with most people, it ends up being like medium intensity intervals rather than high intensity, because they can't push themselves enough.
The other thing on hit training, and especially applicable to female clients, is I would prefer your on be almost 100% and take a good rest period, rather than do a halfway. It's quality,
not quantity.
Absolutely. Rather than do a halfway house of, oh yeah, but I don't need to completely rest, and I'm like, I need you to, because I need your on to be 100%.
Maxed out.
Yeah. Max out.
So,
next question. What are the best exercises to sculpt and tone arms, and how many pounds should you use? So this is a very typical question.
Yeah, it's very specific. But again, with everything, in terms of the weight you're lifting, it depends. So no one can give you an answer to that, because no one knows your own strength except for yourself. So that's impossible. In terms of sculpting your arms, I prefer something generally that's unilateral in terms of work. So I'm not a big advocate of using anything to do with a bar, because you would tend to overcompensate with your dominant side. So I prefer anything that you can use one arm at a time. Tricep work, I tend to prefer a lot more cable work, so some form of cable push downs. For biceps, I would prefer some sort of preacher curl for women as well, in terms of, because upper arm is in a fixed position, you can't cheat and use your front delt to bring the weight forward, and that would be my thoughts. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, to be fair. And I think obviously it depends on the client, and it's interesting because the last question or the question before that, you've said there is what's optimal and there's what's practical. And although we're always pushing optimal, practical will always trump optimal.
Because practical means you can get it done, which
absolutely
is the most important factor.
Yeah. Here's one. I'm gaining weight. What can I do?
In trying to gain more weight or not to gain weight?
I assume the question is wanting to. I assume it's a case of wanting to lose body fat, but it comes back to what we just said. Just because you're gaining weight does not mean that you're going in the right direction.
That's irrelevant in terms of...
Absolutely. So you could be losing body fat and you could just be changing body composition, which is very common. And it's two questions, but the same person. I feel like I'm losing muscle. What should I do? So if you're gaining weight and you're losing muscle, well, that's kind of telling you all you need to know. You're going in the wrong direction. You probably need a little bit more guidance, and maybe you need accountability, or you need someone to help you. So definitely reach out to someone that you trust.
I would say if that is the situation you're going at, where I would guess you probably lack structure. So you're probably overtraining and under eating. So you're probably doing a lot more work than you need to, and you're going backwards for it, which is...
It's so surprising the amount of times that I will increase a female client's food and they get leaner and they're just mind blown.
And also I find the same thing in terms of if you get a woman comes to you and they're doing a hell of a lot of cardio and not eating anything, they stop all cardio and increase the food a little bit, and they get even leaner and they feel amazing.
Absolutely.
Because you're doing too much cardio and not eating, your body's massively stressed and overworked. You suddenly take away some of that stress and workload, your body's relaxed and will then let the body fat go.
Yeah. Well, one question I have for you in terms of your female clients is, and I get quite a lot of questions about when for logging weight. I will always say that you can never weigh yourself too much, but you can definitely read into it too much. So for example, like with male clients, like all of us, our weight will fluctuate throughout the week. With females, of course, your weight's going to fluctuate throughout the month. When you're ovulating, you're going to be holding more water. When you're menstruating, you're going to be holding more water. The other 2 weeks of the month, you're going to be lower on your weight will probably be less. So although you can weigh yourself every single day or every single week, you need to take your cycle into consideration. Of course, that will depend if you're postmenopausal or not. But generally speaking, if you weigh yourself every day, awesome. But just be aware that it will fluctuate not only throughout the week, but also throughout the month.
And that's why it's always good to take an average of what's going on across a week rather than a snapshot from a day.
And obviously an average, it depends on your coach. An average would be awesome. What I sometimes get clients to do is if they weigh themselves every day, is to give me the breakdown of this day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because also their rest days, they'll be weighing differently to their high days or vice versa, right? Absolutely. But also the amount of water that they're probably holding, obviously based on the carbs.
Glycogen uptake.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What sort of kind of obstacles do you find that some of your female clients have most?
Mainly it's a time constraint, I would say, for a lot of them. A lot of them obviously not being sexist, a lot of them tend to be housewives and trying to run around, run their house, look after children and do that side of things. And again, it's trying to provide them with a structure and a program which fits within their lifestyle and their time constraints. Yeah. And the nutritional side of things is something that's actually manageable. Whereas you're not going to give a middle-aged woman who's got 2 kids 8 meals a day is a like bodybuilding plan. Yeah. You try and make something more realistic in terms of foods they do want to eat and something that is sustainable for the long term. Absolutely. I often find, especially when I give a female client a nutritional program for the first time, the volume of food is so much higher than they're used to. Yeah, they're always very surprised, and they start to worry, oh, I'm going to put on weight from this. Or yeah. So one thing, here's one, I suppose, obstacle I have, is I will put a female client in that situation. I will give them the food, and they will then come back to me and they'll have read up somewhere or seen somewhere and they go, oh, can I intermittent fast? And I intermittent fast, and I have done before. Maybe not so much anymore. But that's not to lose weight, that's probably from a digestive point of view. Also, I feel like for most of these female clients, like we said, they're not eating enough as it is. So if we want to give them more food, but then get them to intermittent fast, they're then force feeding themselves for that 8-hour window.
and because they're not used to eating a huge amount in one go, it's almost counterproductive.
And then that's going to cause digestive issues. They're trying to push too much food in one sitting.
Absolutely. Like if I'm giving them X amount of food and the volume is already too high, then to get that amount of food in 8 hours instead of 12 is going to be even more difficult. Yeah. So intermittent fasting is cool and it works to some degree, but like we said, practicality will always trump what's optimal. I have no time to exercise. What can I do? That's a very common, like we said before.
Go multitask is a good one.
Yeah.
So like for example, okay, you don't go to the gym, you don't want to weight train, but you do a lot. You got to make conference, you got to make calls, you got to do business stuff for work. Just walk,
go for a walk,
move.
Put your headphones in.
Or if you say you don't have time, get up earlier. If you logged how many hours in a day, what you're doing,
or watching Coronation Street or EastEnders,
you're pissing around in the evening for 2 hours watching Love Island or whatever it is.
Yes.
Think what else you could be achieving and bettering yourself in those other times and making yourself better for your family and those around you.
The other thing as well is if you don't have time to go to the gym or you don't want to go to the gym, at the end of the day, if you burn more calories than you consume, you will be going in the right direction. So there will be days that some of my clients are unable to go to the gym, and we just try and get them to be, relatively smart and cognitive about what they're doing on those days. As long as they're realistically not eating junk.
Diet is king.
Yeah, absolutely. How many calories does it take to burn 1 pound of fat? 3,500 calories. That's it. So put it this way: if you decrease your calories by 500 every day, obviously by 7, you'll be losing, generally speaking, a pound a week, which is, when you put it that way, it's obviously you have to take a lot of things into consideration, but generally speaking, it's 3,500 per pound, or thereabouts. It will change, obviously, depending on your hormonal profile, whether you're female, male, and
thyroid output and stuff like that.
Yeah, but generally speaking, that's it. So if you put yourself in a deficit of 500 every day, times 7 is 3,500 for the week. You should lose a pound a week. What I say to clients that are trying to gain, generally male clients trying to gain, you need, ideally, if you're not increasing your body weight by a pound a week, I would say eat more. So generally that's the target. So that being said, you need to be in a 500 calorie surplus each day for you to hit that target. So that's a rule of thumb at least. I've been working out for a while now and I've stopped losing weight. What is happening?
Your body's adaptive responses happens. Your body's adapted to whatever you're doing, so you need to create a new stimulus. So either change your training, increase your cardio output, or change your diet to create a new stimulus.
Yeah. What would you choose?
I would change. So the question was that they're not losing weight.
Yeah.
I go to diet first.
Yeah.
In terms of in my opinion, other than the cardiovascular, your weight training overall layout should pretty much be fairly consistent for a period of time. You should really not be changing that every 3 months. I'd run that 6-12 months. I did 18 months pretty much running the same training split, and it worked really well.
To be honest, that's one. It's probably not as strong as a pet peeve, but it's up there when
people want to change their workout.
When people want to change their workout every 6 weeks, I'm like,
you're not getting the most out of that.
No, and it's not me being lazy, not wanting to change it. I can change it easy, but it's like, realistically, I mean, we've both run training programs for 6-9 months at a time sometimes. How long have you been on your...
The current one I'm doing since July, but the one before that I did for 18 months.
Yeah.
Same training split.
Yeah.
I rotated the exercise a little bit, but it was the same training split.
Yeah.
Push-pull legs, and you need to take something as far as you can with it. I appreciate people like to try and do different stuff, and you can rotate the exercise.
If it's a case of being bored, that's a little bit different. Again, that comes optimal versus practicality. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, it's really suboptimal to keep changing your training because the amount of your
it's not a consistent variable then.
Exactly. So then you're trying to juggle a million things. I've got a few clients who may be listening to this. Hint, hint. Try not to change your training split too often.
Would you also say as well? I get a lot of clients in terms of they want to add more volume to a session. When I say to them, look, it's not. If you're wanting to add more volume, you're not training hard enough, in my opinion. More isn't better, it's quality again, not quantity of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it mind boggles me sometimes. I've completely reverted back to upper lower.
I know. That's old
Like,
school. So
really
am I. Yeah,
old
so am
school,
I.
like upper lower.
I'm going back.
upper
I'm going to
lower.
do full body splits again next year.
This is it, dude. Like it's almost like I'm going back to square one, and I feel like, because the truth be told, and I said this to you before, I feel like now that I'm taking everything seriously, like I'm literally going back to square one and going, I'm gonna max out this box before I go on to the next one.
Yeah. And you need to get the most. What's the expression? Get the most from the least from the most. My words wrong.
Get the most from the
The
least.
most from the least. That's what I'm trying to say. And then move on to the next phase with pretty much everything you're doing in life. Otherwise, you're doing yourself a disservice, and ultimately, you're going to cut yourself short when you get further down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of those. So, for example, if you have like female clients in particular who are a little bit hesitant about getting into the gym, because I've got quite a lot of those.
And I can understand. I think it can be a very intimidating environment for a lot of females in particular. Something I like to suggest that can be done is to find someone they can train with. So if you've got a friend or a partner who is happy to embark on the journey with you, I train a lot of couples together, and I'll create the same training split for them. And that's a very common question: is do men and women need to train differently than each other? Mm-hmm. No, you can pretty much do exactly the same training. The only variables that are obviously different are strength levels, and nutritionally, a male's going to need an awful lot more calories than a female just because of the sheer size and most likely probably their goals.
Yeah, I think the one thing that, to be honest with you, like I'm gonna try not to mention this for the last half an hour, but the actual biggest issue that I have with female clients is lack of support at home. Yeah, I think that has to be addressed, because I've mentioned it before, and it really is like, and I don't know why that's the case. There's only a few of my male clients who have very poor support at home. And the vast majority of my female clients have very poor support at home.
And a lot of it, this is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, and I see it all the time, is that their partner, in my opinion, often gets jealous that they're progressing, and then it also increases their own insecurities about themselves, and then they take it out on the person who is progressing, because it makes...
So for me, there's a few things going on. One, I feel like their partner feels like
they're trying to better themselves.
They're trying to better themselves.
Not to get away, I don't know if it's the right term, but...
Yeah, but also it's like, oh yeah, you're fine the way you are. So there's a part of it is, I think it's making them then look at themselves and the fact that they're not making the same improvements themselves. Also then it's like, okay, maybe a little bit of insecurity in terms of what if someone else finds my partner attractive. Then it's maybe I don't want my partner having a life that I have nothing to do with, that has nothing to do with me. Then maybe there's a part of it is they're not completely comfortable with their partner having maybe us as a coach, which unfortunately has been the case a few times.
Yeah, and that ends up being a very personal relationship when you're working with someone on that sort of basis.
Yeah. So I think that needs to be addressed, because it's an elephant in the room for sure. Moving swiftly on. Do I need to take dietary supplements?
It depends, as most...
Like most of these questions. Yeah.
It depends. If you just started, no. Hypothetically, you don't need to take dietary supplements ever. Otherwise, the thing I would say, it will make it easier for you in terms of... I am a big advocate in terms of using whey protein for substituting some protein sources sometimes, because it can be easier for some people to consume, and some people don't want to eat 4 or 5 portions of meat a day, so that is a good way for people to get it in. And also, if you're in a very busy lifestyle and you can't sit down and eat a meal, it's very easy to have a scoop of whey protein, some fruit, whatever on the go when you're running around, driving around in the car. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry, I've just read the next question, and it's just kind of it's really
not a G-string question, is it?
No, but this one's really hit home, to be fair, because I've got a few clients in this situation as we speak, and it's will the gym help me with postnatal depression? And the answer is 100% yes. That's something that a lot of my clients experience. Of course, there are loads of different types of depression or low moods, but it's definitely something that is close to my heart, because I've got a lot of clients who are absolutely amazing and are struggling with this right now. And I say struggling with this, they have struggled with it, and they're doing exceptionally well, and they've found just a massive oasis in terms of using the gym as an outlet.
It's funny, I put a post on Instagram earlier. It's like, for me, I know a lot of people are the same, it's almost an escape from the world. It's clarity in your mind and what's going on at that moment, because all you're thinking about is what you're doing. You're not thinking about the other 1,000 things you're trying to do that day.
Yeah. For me, it's like, don't get me wrong, getting on the cover of a magazine is awesome, getting in amazing shape is awesome, but it's a therapy, man. Yeah. Like, it really is. Like, you were even saying today just how much better you feel after we trained. Right?
When I got there, and then after half an hour, I'm happy as Larry again.
Yeah. So before we finish, dude, what kind of 3 last kind of comments would you say or leave for any females listening out there who are thinking about joining the gym, thinking about getting in touch, thinking about, maybe embarking on their fitness journey, or want to reach out and get some assistance? What sort of 3 tips or 3 kind of lasting comments would you leave?
Okay, I'll ask you the same question, but I'll go first. So I would say be open-minded to doing different things you've never done before, because you never know, you might fall in love with the gym. If you've never done it before, you might get into it, and after a month think, I absolutely love this, and then continue for the rest of your life, and it's a good thing for you to be into. On top of that, I would say being accurate in terms of what you're doing and paying attention to the details. So if you have got a correctly set up nutritional program, I wouldn't suggest adding bits on top of that. So if you're accurate with what you're doing, provide plenty of feedback, and if you've got someone who is trusted, you believe in, listen to that one person. Don't listen to everyone else's other opinion, because I don't really like the expression, but I think what's the expression? So it's like arseholes. Everyone's got an opinion. Or what was the expression?
Yeah.
I can't know words actually. Trained too long. So
opinion's like an arsehole.
Yeah, everyone's got one. So listen to one person, get the most you can out of them, and then move forward from there on that basis.
And
third one would be find a support network around you who are going to help you on your journey, because in particular with partners, people at home, if they're not on board with what you're trying to do, it's a very difficult and can be a lonely journey in that respect. So for myself personally, I'm very fortunate in terms of the friends I have around me. I've got a very supportive wife who puts up with a lot of shit. So that will make the real difference in you getting to be where you want to be. So if that's what you want to do, I'd sit down with whoever your respective partner are, close friends, explain it to them, and just justify why, and then just do it.
Yeah.
Yourself?
My first one would be exactly like you said, train more like a dude. And I think if there are any guys listening to this, train more like a girl.
I'm trying to do that now.
and because that's really, really important. I feel like, especially hormonally, women having a lower testosterone level. Yes, you do have testosterone, it's just a little bit lower. You need to lift heavier, and probably in a lower rep range than most men. I feel like men's ego probably runs away. Admittedly, it does with us, especially when we train together. But I think we probably need to think a little bit more, drop the weight, and probably be a little bit more controlled with what we're doing. So my first point would be, for women out there, train more like men. Secondly, it would be, and I think this is applicable to men and women, I think a lot of us out there look for acceptance elsewhere. And one phrase that I always use and I always think about myself is, instead of trying to find the perfect person to walk into our lives, make yourself the perfect person to walk into someone else's. Invest in yourself, be it spiritually, emotionally, physically. Use the gym as an outlet to make yourself the best possible version of yourself, and you'd be surprised who walks into your life. And number 3, find accountability. It doesn't have to be with a coach. It doesn't have to be with us. Find accountability from somewhere. Maybe it's a friend. It may be a coach. It may be someone that goes to the gym. Find accountability, because it can be really, really difficult, especially if you're starting off a journey. Put it this way, dude, if you could go back to when you first got in the gym, the first thing I guarantee you do now is get a coach and learn.
Oh, literally.
Seriously.
I was thinking that yesterday. I was like,
imagine how much time you would have saved. And that's applicable to guys as well.
Like, what more I could have achieved is mental.
Yeah, I wish I could go back to when I was 18 and I would literally, for the sake of paying someone for their expertise, to shortcut the way, rather than spending the last 10 years of my life trying to pick up all of these things myself.
Here's a question for you. Why, I don't know why I didn't. Why did you not do it then?
Ego.
Yeah, ego. I thought I knew better.
I thought I knew better. And two, when I first got into the fitness space, I almost liked the fact that I wasn't coached by somebody else, which was complete ignorance. I thought, I don't need to. And if you're out there and you're listening and you think you know more than... Like, here's a perfect example. I will train with one of my brother's friends who's like 17, 18, 19, and I'll learn something. I can't remember the last time I haven't trained even with a client and I haven't learned something. You can learn something from everyone. So if you look for someone, like every time I train with Charlie, I learn something. I'd like to think every time that we train together, it goes the other way as well. So for you to shortcut that route and go straight to someone who can help you...
Who's the top of their game, the elite.
Absolutely. So that would be my third point. And I think it's definitely something I wish I could go back in time, and I would, like, even now I'm just like, oh my god, like, even for example, like, you know what, you're paying your coach or your business coach, or I'm paying Ben and things like that. Yes, it's a lot of money, but oh my god, it's worth
the
it.
Investment in yourself. And so if you make yourself the best version of yourself possibly you can be, the world's yours. Anything you want to achieve physically, financially, emotionally, you'll be able to achieve.
Absolutely.
And also from another point of view, I find having accountability in other aspects of your life is a stress reliever, because it takes a lot of the decision making off your shoulders. Particularly, like, both of us have a lot of stuff on our plate. It's one less thing to think about. You just need to execute, which we can both do whatever you're supposed to do. Yeah. Cool. So it's been a bit of a cool day, because myself and Charlie, for those of you guys who don't know, we used to train together, every day, training partners for about a year at least. Throwback.
So we managed to train together for the first time in a very long time in our old gym. Yeah, Physique Warehouse. Give you guys a little plug. And we're off to get some cheeky Nando's.
Yeah, it's old school.
Like the good old days. Guys, I'm going to leave you there. Charlie, if you don't know, guys, get following. Where can people find more about you, dude?
My Instagram is Charlie Johnson Fitness. My website is Charlie Johnson Fitness. My YouTube channel is Charlie Johnson Fitness.
Oh, handy.
It's all very easy.
Handy.